Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is over halfway through April, and we've already started Amish in April, but I was traveling the first 10 days of April. I left on March 31st with my daughter Emily, and we took a road trip to Texas, came back through Oklahoma, spent a few days, and then just gradually made our way back across the country to Florida, did some book shopping and visiting and all of the above along the way. So I have not had a chance until now to share with you my wrap up for March Mystery Madness and for the month of March. Now, predominantly, I did read mysteries for the entire month. I only have 4 books out of the 25 that I would not classify as mysteries. So I'll tell you about those as well, but I'm excited to tell you about all of the fun mysteries that I read over the month. Now, almost everything I read was on audio. I did carry over from February 7 books, and 2 of those were cozy mysteries that I finished in the month of March, and then I carried over another 6 books into the month of April. So the same 5 of the 7 that I carried over from February into March, I've also carried over into April, and we'll probably carry those over into June, because I think I'm going to do something in June called Just June, where I just read what I want to read. Oh my goodness, the traffic here on my quiet little street sometimes blows me away. Anyway, I'm going to do something in June called Just June, where I just read all the things that I want to read and don't try to, set my goals too high, other than just to try to finish up what I want to read and maybe catch up with some of the books that I didn't get to earlier in the year, things like that. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. You're welcome to join me in that quest if you like. So, in the month of March, I read 21 mysteries, most of which were on audio, and then 4 that weren't. So let me just get those 4 out of the way first that are not mysteries, and then that way we can just spend the rest of the video on mysteries. So I finished, I listened to one nonfiction book, and I'll put a picture of it here. I already turned in that book to the library thinking I would have time to get it back and show it in this video, but I forgot to. And then right before leaving on our trip, I had several library books that needed to be turned in. And so I went ahead and filmed some clips of some of the different books that I've already turned in, and I will edit those clips in as I get to those books. There were a couple of new releases that I read or listened to during the month that I could never get a physical copy of in time, and I finally just canceled the hold because there was just no point in getting them. I like to have all the physical copies possible when I can, because I like to stack them all up and then take a picture for Instagram. Although last year I sort of dropped the ball on that, and I ended up, I think, at the 1st of March, or no, it was late in March, I finally just did a big post of like 6 months worth of wrap up pictures. So those are on my Instagram. Feel free to follow me if you would like. I have not been on there very much lately, but I want to try to do better about that. So anyway, I don't even know if I ended up taking a picture, because I kind of thought, what was the point? I feel like maybe I did take some kind of a picture, and I used some comparable books and turned them around the opposite way so that they could represent the books that I read. But I didn't finish up really, because I left on the 30th, maybe the evening of the 30th, or maybe the 31st. I don't even know anymore. No, it was the evening of the 30th, I guess. And I listened to at least 1 or 2 more audiobooks our first full day on the road that were mysteries. So I didn't finish up what I wanted to read for March until, I was already on the road. Anyway, let's just get started. So the nonfiction book that I finished or listened to was not super long, and it was a book that I had put on my TBR in February for the Library Love Readathon for the host whose theme was language. I decided that the love languages would be my take on that. And I found a love language book that I had not read. And even though I'm retired, I still thought that I would be able to glean some good information from this book. So I'll put a picture of it here. It was something about 5 love languages of appreciation in the workplace, and just about how to relate to your coworkers using the 5 love language concept, and I very much enjoyed it. So that's by Gary Chapman, and I think he had a co-author, which if you can't see it on there, I'll put it right here. And anyway, I thought it was good, well worth reading. I would say if you haven't read any of the 5 love languages, start with the basic one, which is geared toward the 5 love languages of how you relate to your spouse or significant other. Now, if you don't have a spouse or significant other, then you could certainly read this one, but I think that one really gets you grounded in the concept of what he's talking about. So basically operates on the premise that there are 5 languages of love, and we each as humans tend to lead out with one in particular. It doesn't mean that you should only speak in that love language, because the idea is that your spouse or significant other or your children or your coworker is speaking in a different love language, and you need to be fluent in all 5 so that you can relate to each of those people. And it's just fascinating. So the love languages are gifts, physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, and acts of service. And I can so easily look at all the members of my immediate family and say, oh yeah, she's this, he's that, and it just helps when you start to think, how can I best show my appreciation to them? You can best do it through their love language, not your own. So it's just a great concept. Anyway, so then 3 books that I wouldn't consider mysteries that I did read or listen to during the month. 2 of them were my BookTube spin books for round 5, and I talked a little bit about these in my BookTube spin round 6 list, and I think I forgot to really talk about the premise, at least of one of them, and now I can't remember which one I didn't talk about, but I think it was this one. MoonPies and Movie Stars by Amy Wallen is about a woman whose adopted daughter is estranged from her, and one day her and her sister and some friends are watching television, and they see her daughter on a commercial, and the daughter had gotten married, had a couple of children, and then one day left her children and husband and took off, and they don't know where. So after seeing her on television, they decide that they're going to go to California and try to find her. She loads up the kids and the daughter's mother-in-law and I think her sister, and they go on a road trip to California to find her daughter. And it does have some it's got some humor, it's got some hard topics. It is a lighter take on what really is kind of a sad situation. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it to death. There were some attempts at humor that I didn't think were all that funny. I do really enjoy a good Southern humor fiction book. Several by Fannie Flagg that I have really loved. The whole Miss Julia series by Amby Ross are some of my favorites. This one fell short a little. I rated it 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but it didn't blow me away. And, if you like Southern humor and Southern fiction, then you might want to give it a listen. It is on Hoopla on audio, and I'm not mad at myself for listening to it. It was not super long, and it's something that I probably wouldn't read again. I might give the author another try. I don't know what else she has written, but I found this at a library sale and thought the cover looked cute, and I'm always judging a book by its cover and giving it a shot. So, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was just okay. Then the other one was kind of a similar situation. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just okay. I've had the second book in this trilogy on my shelves for a while. Again, I bought it at a library sale, thought it looked cute. It has a knitting theme. Then I eventually found this first book somewhere and then discovered that the first two in the trilogy are on Hoopla on audio. So I put it on my booktube spin list and it got chosen. It has a knitting theme. It's called, the series is called Chicks with Sticks, and it's about a group of teenage girls who use knitting as a therapeutic device for whatever ails them. And each one has a different story and some different things going on in their lives, and they sort of bond over knitting. Again, I didn't love it, didn't blow me away, but I didn't hate it, and I'm glad that I read it. I would probably go ahead and definitely listen to the second one. I don't know if the third one is on Hoopla or not, but if it is, I will listen to it as well and try to go ahead and complete the trilogy. So then the other book that I would not consider a mystery is one that I did have from the library, so I'm going to go now to that footage. Hi, it's me from a few days ago. I want to tell you about one of the books that I read earlier in the month, and I've got to return this to the library, so I will not have it by the time that I am filming my March wrap-up. This is We Are the Brennans. It is by Tracey Lange, I believe is how you say the name. And I read this for my regular literary book club at the library. I think I can count this for the Irish readathon. It doesn't take place in Ireland. I'm not sure if the author is Irish or not, but it is about a family with Irish roots. And it's basically a family drama about their lives. There is one main character. It's a female, and can't think of her name right off the top of my head, but she has been away from the family for several years. She left home to get a new start. Nobody really knew why. At least we don't know if anyone knew why. She left her fiance and everyone. And now her brother has contacted her to please come back and help with the family business. So she has come back. And that's basically where the story starts. I enjoyed it more than I thought I might. It's not my favorite type of book, but it wasn't bad, and I'm glad that I read it. Okay, so for March Mystery Madness, we had a theme of 2 by 2. So I'll try to remember to come back at the end and tell you how each of these books fit the theme. Most of them did fit in some way, and several of them met other personal goals that I have for the month. And so I'll try to remember to tell you how all of that fits together. But for now, let me just go through the books and share with you what I read. Then as far as audio versus print, I believe 18 of them were on audio and 3 of them were in print. Then as far as genre or categories, 12 of them were cozy mysteries and 7 of them were middle grade mysteries, which makes them also cozy, but I didn't include them in that other group of 12. One of them was more of a suspense crime fiction, and then one was a historical mystery. That was, incidentally, my read-along, and I did do some footage of that. So let me go now to that footage, and then I'll be back. For March Mystery Madness, I hosted a read-along of Murder in Old Bombay by Nev March, and I thought this book was fantastic. I rated it 5 stars. It was really, really good. I started out reading it in print and listening to the audio, and I decided, though, that in order to stretch it out throughout the month for my read-along, that I wouldn't rush through the audio, and so I let that expire, and I just continued to read it in print. This is set in Bombay in 1892, and I wasn't sure, since I'm not a big historical reader, and I don't read really very many books that are set outside of the U.S., especially not in India. I didn't know how well I would be able to follow it, understand it. I just didn't know if I would even be interested in it. And I am here to tell you this was a very good book. And I'm really excited to know that there is going to be a sequel coming out, I think, later this year. This is about Captain James Agnihotri, and he is a mixed blood, of mixed descent. His mother was Indian, and he believes his father was white, although he does not know his father and never knew his father. And this is, it's political, it's a murder mystery. You learn about the history of India and the different governing bodies and the way things are structured, at least back in 1892. And I just thought it was very interesting, very fascinating, and the characters are really great. I just thoroughly enjoyed the characters, and I just can't say enough good things about it. So if you have heard of this and it's on your radar, I would recommend that you read it. And feel free to join in on the discussion. The discussion threads are in the Mystery Madness Goodreads group in the Whodunit folder. And you are welcome to add to those comments at any point in the future. Even if you didn't read it along with me, feel free to come back and comment about it, and I will do my best to respond. So I read this for my mystery book club for April, so I'm happy now that I have gotten it read in the month of March, and I'm a little bit ahead of things, and I'm just excited that I had a good excuse to read this, because it's probably something that I would not have picked up otherwise. The next one I want to talk about, I also filmed some footage in advance, and that is the book that I would consider more of a suspense book. It was definitely crime fiction, not so much a mystery, but it was to catch me up with the latest book in a series that I love. So let me go now to that footage, and I'll be right back. I think my most excited for, anticipated read from March Mystery Madness is the most recent Jane Whitefield novel by Thomas Perry called The Left-Handed Twin. Not only does the word twin fit the 2x2 theme, I had no idea that there was going to be another book in the Jane Whitefield series, and I love the series. It does have some foul language, not over the top, but it does have some, and I always like to point that out, just in case that is something that you, that is a deal breaker for you. It is usually a deal breaker for me, but I make an exception in this case because it's such a fascinating series. It is about a Native American woman from the Seneca tribe in New York, and she helps people disappear. They're not mysteries per se, but they are crime fiction, and it's a very unique series, and I just can't recommend it enough. If you like crime drama, I think it's very suspenseful, very interesting, and just very thought-provoking. So anyway, The Left-Handed Twin is the most recent book. If you want to start at the beginning of the series, it's called The Vanishing Act by Thomas Perry, and I think this is book 9, and I really hope that there's going to be more, because before this one, I think the most recent one since before this was published in 2014, and you know, I don't know. I'm guessing the author probably thought he was done, and maybe he had enough feedback of people wanting more, or maybe a new idea came to him. I don't know. Interesting, but I'm just thrilled that there was another book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a series that I think I want to reread or re-listen to, and I'm just excited that there was another book. 2 of the 7 middle grade mysteries that I read were to participate in 2 of the read-alongs that were hosted by Elizabeth Tyree, one of the hosts of March Mystery Madness. And so I've got a couple of clips for those, and I will show you those 2 clips, and then I'll come back and show you the other titles in the series that I ended up binging. Several of the March Mystery Madness co-hosts did lead read-alongs for the month of March, and I usually try to participate in as many as possible, and this year I just couldn't participate in very many at all because of all the other things that I have going on in my life, but I did participate with Elizabeth Tyree in one of her read-alongs, and we read the first book in the Trixie Belden series. This is by Julie Campbell. As a kid, I remember reading 1 or 2 of these. I don't know if I had ever read this first one or not, and I did really enjoy it. It definitely has a different feel, a different vibe than Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew is a little bit older. Trixie here is, I think, 13, and she's definitely not as accomplished in as many skills and things as Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew almost is a little unbelievable at times because it seems like there's nothing that she hasn't tried or mastered, not a skill she hasn't mastered. But Trixie is definitely a little more flawed, a little more human, and I enjoyed that about the series. It definitely has a more timeless feel. It is set, or it was written and originally published, I think, in 1948, this first book, and it's definitely feels like it came from a simpler time, but yet they're kids who are just enjoying having adventures and doing fun things together. So very much enjoyed it. If you have not ever read any Trixie Belden books, then this is the first one, The Secret of the Mansion. Another read-along that Elizabeth Tyree did was the first book in the Enola Holmes series by Nancy Springer. Now, I think she read this at the beginning of the month, and I missed the actual read-along and discussion of it. But later, at the end of the month, I came back and I listened to this first book, and I loved it so much. I went straight into the second one, and I continued on. Over a weekend, I listened to all 6 books. Now, granted, they're very short. Not any of them are longer than like 4.5 hours. A couple of them are 3 hours. Like, they range from 3 to 4.5 hours long. And I usually speed things up a little bit in addition to that. So that was not, time was fine. But I did it because I loved them so much. I thought they were fantastic, so intelligently written, so smart, and it was a really fun tie-in with Sherlock Holmes. I just enjoyed the character of Enola. I have not ever seen the adaptation on Netflix, but I am going to be watching it as soon as I have an opportunity. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done, very well written. And honestly, if someone hadn't told me that it was a middle grade book, I really did not get that feel from it at all. I felt like it was so intelligent and smartly written that someone of any age could read it and enjoy it. And I'm 57 and I loved it. So if you've ever thought about reading this book, definitely pick it up. This is a series you want to go in order because things change. And then also in the later books, she refers back to things that happened in the earlier books, and some of the characters are recurring. So I would say definitely read them in order, and I hope you enjoy them. I hope you love them as much as I did, because I thought they were fantastic. So I mentioned in that last clip that I ended up binging all 6 of the Enola Holmes novels by Nancy Springer. I just enjoyed them so much, and they were all on audio on Hoopla. So while I was packing, getting ready for my trip, and doing some cleaning in the garage and things like that, I ended up listening to all of them, and they were so much fun. In fact, I'm looking them up on Goodreads right now to give you the titles, and I'm seeing that there is a novella that I didn't know about. So I've got to see if I can find that, maybe on ebook or something. So anyway, I showed you the first book. I don't even know if I mentioned the title. So it is called The Case of the Missing, I was saying Marquess, but the audiobook narrator said Marquess. And I just can't help but think maybe it's acceptable to pronounce it one way or the other, depending on where you're coming from or what language is your first language. But, I could be totally wrong. Anyway, the audiobook narrator said The Case of the Missing Marquess. Then book 2 was The Case of the Left-Handed Lady. And we are introduced to a character in that book that does recur in 1 or 2 of the later books. So for that reason, I would say read these in order, because she turns out to be a pretty important character. Then the next one is called The Case of the Bizarre Bouquet, or Bouquets. And I can't even remember now what that was about, but anyway, I enjoyed them all. Then number 4 is The Case of the Peculiar Pink Fan. And number 5, well, now I was going to tell you about the novella, but I lost it. Number 5 is The Case of the Cryptic Crinoline. And number 6, oh wait, there's more than 6. There's 8. I'm not done with the series. Oh my goodness. Y'all, I thought I had finished the series. Listened to all the ones they had on Hoopla. Don't ever trust Hoopla. They may not have them all. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I'm super excited to know that there's more, because they were fantastic. Okay, where did I get to? Number 5, The Case of the Cryptic Crinoline. And then number 6, the last one that I listened to, is The Case of the Gypsy Goodbye. And that one had such a wrap-up feel to it. that it's no wonder I thought it was the last one. It really did feel like the last one. But there is a 6.5, which I'm assuming is a novella. It's called Enola Holmes and the Boy in Buttons. Then we've got Enola Holmes and the Black Baruch, I think is how you say that. Barouch. And then Enola Holmes and the Elegant Escapade is number 8. So I have not read anything past number 6. And let me know if you have read any of those last 3 books. That's exciting. I mean, I'm frustrated that I didn't catch that sooner, but still, that's awesome. Okay. Let's move on now. I do have a couple of other clips, but let me first just see what order I want to go in. So the rest of the books were 12 cozy mysteries. So one of them, actually 2 of them I carried over, and I never got a physical copy of the most recent Coffeehouse Mystery by Cleo Coyle. I've got number 1 here to show you. This is On What Grounds. So if you ever want to read the series, start with this one. But the one I read, I believe it was book 19. It was just released earlier this year. It's called Honey Roasted. Now, it was not nearly as good as number 18. Number 18 was about memory loss, and I thought it was just really well done. Very much enjoyed it. Number 19 was okay, but it didn't blow me away. And then the book that I read in print that I carried over, it was one from my own shelves. This is book number 2 in the Cats in Trouble series by Leanne Sweeney, The Cat, the Professor, and the Poison. And so it's book number 2 in the series, so that kind of gives it that number 2 theme, although I did start this in February and had every intention of finishing it in February. It didn't happen, so I did finish it in the month of March. And then moving on, another book that's from my own shelves is book 4 in the Crochet Mysteries by Betty Hechtman. It is hard to see, but it's A Stitch in Crime. And I kind of think this one has 22 chapters. Let me see if I'm correct on that. Nope, it has 26 chapters. I'm trying to think. I think this is my second book in this series that I have listened to this year. So that's kind of how it can fit in with the theme. This is about a group of crocheters called the Tarzana Hookers. They're from the town of Tarzana, California. And they have some friends who are in the show business, and you know, it's kind of fun. It's always kind of fun when an author is able to bring celebrities into the mix of characters. I think that's kind of neat. And the next ones, I kind of did a little binge. These are all from my bookshelves. They are all on audio on Hoopla. I binged 4 books in the Needlework Mysteries by Monica Ferris. I listened to books 7 through 10, I believe. Let's see here. Well, I don't have the number written here. I think it's 7 through 10. Yeah. And very much enjoyed them. I just went from one right into the next. So this fulfills a challenge that I set for myself to binge my bookshelves. I would like to go right on and continue binging this series and perhaps move it on off of my shelves, pass it on to someone else, put it in my eBay store, something by the end of the year. So number 7 is Cut Work. And this is a series about a woman who is running a needlecraft store that used to belong to her sister. Her sister has passed away, and she has taken over the shop and is learning as she goes, and seems to have really taken to it and is gradually becoming accepted in this world of needlecraft, and I'm enjoying it. Number 8 is a Christmas themed or holiday themed book called Cruel Yule. That's number 8. And then number 9 is Embroidered Truths. And then number 10 is Sins and Needles. And in that book, someone is killed with a big long needle in the neck. Eek. Whew. Man. Okay. Then, let's see what else we want to talk about. Let me move through my list. One of the books that I listened to was for the Killing Time with Cozy's group read-along, a series that we are reading as a group. The first book in the series by the Dangerous Type series by Paige Shelton is To Helvetica and Back. So I listened to that, not quite in time to watch the discussion. In fact, I finished it maybe later that night, and I have neglected to go back and watch the discussion. I need to do that. So then book 2 we're reading this month, and I may have already missed that discussion. I don't even know. It's called Bookman Dead Style, and I've got it here. I have it checked out from the library, and I had intended to get it done before Amish in April started. So now I may go ahead and just put it on hold, or I may go ahead and listen to it while I've got it. I think it's on Hoopla on audio. I need to just go ahead and check it out and get it done. I need to find out if they've had that discussion yet or not. If they haven't, I'll go ahead and get it done before the weekend. Then we have Murder on an Irish Farm by Carleen O'Connor. I think I did film some footage about that one because I had a library copy of it. So let's go to that now, and I'll be right back. This is a book that counts for several challenges for the month of March. For one thing, it's a mystery, so of course it counts for March Mystery Madness. Even though I have not figured out a 2x2 tie-in, that's okay. And it is set in Ireland, so it counts for the Irish Readathon, and it is on my Series About Series list, or my SAS list, and this is the most recent book in the Irish Village Mystery Series by Carleen O'Connor. So now I am caught up with this series. I very much enjoyed it, and I would recommend the series to anyone who is interested in cozy mysteries. This one is maybe a little less cozy than some, but still very entertaining. Great cast of characters, and the only reason I would probably say that it's not as cozy as you might want is because at this point in the series, the sleuth is not an amateur. She was in the beginning, but is not now. So for that reason alone, it doesn't exactly fit the formula, but still, it's a really good mystery series, and I would recommend it. Okay, we're almost done. Another one that I listened to, and this catches me up with another series, is the Caramel Pecan Roll Murder by Joanne Fluke, which I believe is number 28 in the Hannah Swenson Baking Mysteries. And it wasn't bad. I was a little surprised because I didn't notice it being quite as elementary as some of the other more recent books. So I didn't hate it. And I didn't hate the others. It's just, you know, they've started to get a little eye-rolly. But this one wasn't too bad. Now, I still maintain, though, that if you want to read that series, read like the first 15. And then if you can stop, go ahead and stop there. You're good. If you want to keep going, you may get a little frustrated. But this most recent one wasn't too bad. Then I listened to 2 books on my trip that are by Tanya Kappas. They are part of the Campers and Criminals mystery series. These are all super short, at least the ones I have read, and I can't even remember what number these were now. I want to say they're 5 and 6, or 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, somewhere along that. But one of the ones that I listened to was Canyons, Caravans, and Cadavers. I'll put the number here of what number that is in the series. And then the next one was Motorhomes, Maps, and Murder. And this series is set in a campground. The premise is that a woman named Mae West was married to someone who turned out to be a criminal. And he and she both lost all of their assets except for a couple of things that he had put only in her name. So he was looking out for her because when he was convicted and all of their assets were frozen, the only thing she had access to was a camper and a campground. So she moves to that campground in this camper, and it turns out then that her ex-husband is the first victim in the first book. But it goes on from there, and she has made a life for herself in this campground that she now owns and runs and has become a part of the community. And it's just a really fun series. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to get to at least a couple more books down is a title that starts with V. And so I'm wanting to use that one for the ABC challenge that we're doing with the Killing Time with Cozies group, because cozy mysteries that start with V are few and far and hard to come by. So I did watch a Tanya Kappas live stream not too long ago, and I asked her, I said, hey, we're doing this challenge, and a lot of us are using your books as, you know, because they fulfill this ABC challenge. Could you write one that starts with Z before the end of the year so that we can use that one? Because that's like the only one that I haven't been able to find yet. And she actually said, yeah, I could probably do that. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. That would be amazing. Anyway, I think that is everything that I read in the month of March, or everything that I finished in the month of March. And I really had a great reading month. I had a really fun March Mystery Madness. I did not get to participate in everyone's read-alongs like I sometimes try to do. I didn't even get to watch all of the host videos. It has been really tough to juggle my life now as an eBay reseller and booktuber and, you know, mother, wife, and all of the above. And I just had to scale it back a little bit as far as booktube goes. But I want you to know, all of you hosts and participants, that I appreciate you so much. I love you. I thank you, and you are all amazing. Even if I didn't get to watch your videos, I saw your thumbnails, and if I can make it back to those videos, I will do my best to try. I want to thank all the people who joined me for the Terrific Tuesday with Friends Over Coffee. That was super fun. We had some fantastic discussions. Thank you to everyone who was able to join in, and thank you to all of you who I asked and you couldn't make it, but you responded back and thanked me for asking you. You know, thank you. So I appreciate it all so much. Going forward now, we have just started and kicked off Amish in April. This is kind of readathon season for me, because in February I host the Little House Readathon, and then of course all of March is March Mystery Madness. Half of April is Amish in April, and then all of May, this year we are bringing back middle grade May. So I mentioned in another video that I'm thinking about in June just doing something that I'm going to call Just June, and I'm just going to read. I'm going to try really hard not to have a bunch of goals to fulfill or anything like that. I just want to read, catch up with the things that I've been wanting to read that I haven't gotten to, and all of that. So if that sounds like something you'd like to do, I hope you'll join me. It doesn't mean that I won't participate in other readathons. I may still. I'm just going to do what I want to do, what I feel like doing. So that's why I want to call it Just June. And someone suggested Just July. Oh, do Just June and July. I think it was Donna from Student in the Library. And I was going to say, Donna, let's not go crazy here. I think 1 month of just it might be all I can just do. But we shall see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for participating in March Mystery Madness, and I hope you had a great month. Oh, I didn't go back and say what each thing, how it fit with the theme. So one thing I think I did mention in one of the clips, We Are the Brennans. I was counting that for the Irish Readathon. Also, Murder in an Irish Village obviously counts for the Irish Readathon, unless it has to be an Irish author, which I don't know, but these definitely had ties to Ireland, so we're going to have to count that. Of course, then I did listen to my 2 books for the BookTube Spin. I've still got a couple of earlier ones that I need to go back and finish, but at least I'm caught up with the latest round. Secret of the Mansion by Trixie Belden. That might have been the second time I've read that. I think it's at least the second Trixie Belden book I've ever read. I might have read a couple of others, but I don't know. The Left-Handed Twin has the word twin. That certainly designates a second person. And then a couple of them I already mentioned. Some of them didn't have to do with the 2x2, but I just wanted to go ahead and read them because they were mysteries. Some of them caught me up with series, like the Irish Village series and the Hannah Swenson Baking mysteries. What else? The Left-Handed Twin caught me up with the Jane Whitefield series. And that might be the only ones that I caught up with. I thought I had listened to the whole Enola Holmes series, but I didn't. And so anyway, I just enjoyed the month a lot. It was really a lot of fun. So that is about all I can think of that I need to tell you for this video. I will be back soon with some footage from my trip. I've got some book hauls to share with you and various other things. So I hope you'll stay tuned for more. And I need to do a couple more eBay type reselling videos. And incidentally, I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but every week on Wednesdays, I appear on a reselling working live stream that's hosted by Rebel from the Rebel Reseller. She is a toy seller, primarily sells toys and plush, stuffed animals, and I have been appearing on her Wednesday morning live stream for several weeks now, and we just chat about reselling and we work on things while we're in the chat and things like that. So check it out. I will leave a link in the description down below. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.